I appreciate your presence. Breathe deeply because what we'll discuss affects everyone silently and constantly, yet most people never face it. You may not realize your cycle, an invisible one. This loop saps your enthusiasm, dreams, and vitality. It's subtle but powerful. You may believe you're in charge, but this loop takes over time after time. It's not meant to scare or impress. Not inflated, few discuss this truth, the silent reality we endure daily. You have mysterious powers every morning. These forces influence your thoughts, desires, and decisions. They weren't chosen. Without your consent, they act. They disregard your goals and rationale, push, tug, and grumble in the background. You say, today is going to be different. You promise to quit wasting time and being unhealthy. When you return to previous behaviors, you lose focus, become numb, and neglect important things. The problem goes deeper than intelligence or willpower. You may feel sluggish, disorganized, and unmotivated. Sigmund Freud, a controversial but brilliant thinker, discovered over a century ago that humans have a death drive, an unconscious pull to destroy, dissolve, and return to nothingness. It's strange, but we all have it. Your brain rewards you with dopamine, a thrill and relief when you repeat a bad habit, avoid something important, or indulge in something unhealthy. Without realizing it, you continue the loop, because pleasure, even slow pain, is addicting. The hard part is that today, this death urge isn't obvious. It hides. It's disguised as endless social media scrolling, overeating, drinking, or spending hours on games or pornography, unhealthy relationships, or numbing overwork, and evading goals with 1,000 diversions. These activities seem harmless and even necessary, but they hide a deep innate need to escape from pressure, misery, obligation, life. It's okay to wake up and notice the invisible influences that have shaped your life for years or decades. You can change. Does your inner voice say, it is not worth trying when you try to change? That unseen power that keeps you stuck no matter what. We'll analyze your ongoing conflict between eros, life creativity, and thanatos, self-destruction. Finally, please understand why the cycle traps you, why you persist despite knowing you're destroying yourself. How to break internal chains is key. Please stay with me as this film explores your subconscious and may change you forever. The inner conflict, eros versus thanatos. Freud was one of the first to discover that our minds are continuously at strife. Our psyche is a quiet war ground where opposing desires struggle for our lives. The conflict between eros and thanatos, our fundamental drives, shapes us. Eros, Cupid, the Greek god of love and creation, urges us to develop, conserve, and create for pleasure, connection, and growth. In learning, working, connecting, and taking care of oneself, eros feeds civilization, progress, art, science, and species survival. Energy propels us toward life. Despite being powerful and linked, thanatos, the Greek legendary death instinct, wants the opposite. Freud felt that every living thing had an unconscious desire to release life's tensions, cease trying, and return to nothingness. Perfect calm, the end of effort, misery, and desire. Thanatos is subtle and insidious. It infiltrates small acts of self-sabotage, destructive behaviors you repeat without understanding why, vices that numb but corrode, relationships that weaken you, procrastination that undermines your opportunities, and fleeting pleasure you seek even knowing it will bring suffering later. Death masquerades as pleasure, and a brain that releases dopamine when fooled by immediate stimuli perpetuates this fatal cycle. This is your daily strange game. Thanatos and eros dance, coexist, and share every decision and impulse. Thanatos may pleasure you, yet you may be escaping eros's might. Next, we'll look at how to detect these indicators in daily life and self-destruction as pleasure. We'll examine Thanatos's modern hideout and how it may be killing you without your knowing. If this makes sense, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for helping. Modern Thanatos. Today, Thanatos wears the most alluring masks and murmurs, just a little more. You merit it. It doesn't matter, you agree. Dopamine reinforces compulsive and self-destructive practices in modern life, making it excellent for disguising the suicide impulse. Thanatos can control you with social media, pornography, junk food, drink, rampant consumption, endless series, video games, and toxic relationships. Do you regularly say, "I'll change today, I won't do it again today"? Yet you're back in the cycle, exhausted and guilty. Without your knowledge, Thanatos acts through detrimental mental and emotional habits you repeat, despite knowing they harm. Because we instinctively want to eliminate pain, tension, and effort. Part of you craves cessation, apathy, or numbness, yet Thanatos wins in every act that temporarily anesthetizes you from life's pain or concern. Slips and repetitions strengthen the self-destruction neural circuit, making it tougher to escape the cycle. Unknowingly, you fuel death. The problem is more nuanced. Thanatos acts in subtle ways, including persistent procrastination, fear of exposure, deferring dreams, and poor relationships. How does the brain participate? How can dopamine, a hormone that should motivate us, self-destruct? Let's investigate this. Dopamine, the deadliest trap. Your worst mental trap may be how dopamine reinforces self-destructive behavior. Dopamine's effects are more complex than making you feel great. It controls movement, mood, motivation, expectation, and pleasure. It dictates want, not liking. Dopamine forms a brain circuit that says, repeat this, try again. It doesn't matter if the action is good or bad. The brain reinforces the circuit if it delivers temporary pleasure, making you want more of it automatically. This powerful evolutionary tool should motivate you to survive, reproduce, and make friends. Imagine it being hijacked. This is modern existence. Strong artificial stimuli bombard your brain, associating dopamine to useless or harmful behavior. Social media, pornography, fast food, alcohol, drugs, consumerism, endless series, digitized alerts. They're supposed to activate your dopamine circuit and addict you. You check your phone for a minute and an hour. Rapid enjoyment from ultra-processed food leaves you wanting more. After buying something online, you get enthusiastic and shop again. Despite your awareness of self-sabotage, your body acts on its own as each small repetition develops brain circuitry and the impulse. You no longer want that behavior. You must. Unlike Freud's death drive, Thanatos is an unconscious yearning to dissolve the self and avoid life suffering. Our compulsive, addictive, and self-destructive behaviors, not tiny steps toward dissolution. Thanatos and dopamine function through you when you delay, become addicted, or temporarily relieve a weakening action. Your mind is against you. Thanatos causes unconscious flight and self-nullification, and dopamine reinforces escape behaviors, so the more you give in, the bigger the circle. You self-sabotage knowing it's damaging, irrational, and not immoral because your neurological system supports this deep psychological mechanism. Despite the risk, there is a greater reason to persist. Your ego, superego, and early buried urges drive this circle, blocking change, creating unseen opposition, and trapping you. We'll explore this. Careless saboteur. Accepting that you are not in command is difficult. Even though contemporary rhetoric implies you have authority over your life and just need to want to change, Freud said, the ego is not the master in its own house. You can't quit even after understanding the cycle and trap, because most of your thoughts, feelings, and actions are unconscious. 3 brain components were identified by Freud. The id, Eros and Thanatos' primordial root of impulses, wants, and drives, does not grasp logic, morality, or reality, and wants to satisfy urges. The ego, the mind's intermediary between the id and the outside world, is sensible and realistic yet weak. The superego observes, judges, and punishes, often cruelly, societal, moral, parental, and cultural expectations. These fundamental factors conflict with changing self-destructive behavior. Eros and Thanatos, the id and its urges, push you toward immediate pleasure, dissolution, and escape. Superego condemns, criticizes, and shames. The weak ego seeks balance in this struggle but is crushed by desires and internal voices. End result, undetectable resistance. An underground force subverts your change by delaying, diverting, and rationalizing old habits. Just one more time. I deserve this today. It's not that serious. These fallacious reasoning originate from unconscious change anxiety. Instead of giving up anesthesia and false comfort, Thanatos wants to keep you asleep at the expense of your health, happiness, and life. Unconscious guilt is much stranger. Freud concluded that people self-sabotage out of urge and unconscious punishment. The superego's harshness and buried shame compel them to blindly crave failure and agony as self-punishment for unknown wrongdoing. The unconscious wants you to stay the same because it fears discomfort, repressed pain, and identity loss based on these tendencies. You will remain prisoner unless you confront these secret powers. We can integrate these energy, hear repressed voices, and change incarceration patterns. The next section addresses that. Breaking cycle. Breaking this loop takes more than determination and empty platitudes. This psychological war pits your unconscious impulse for dissolution and self-destruction against your life energy, which wants to live, create, and expand. Knowing is the first step. The enemy is invisible, thus Freud said, making the unconscious conscious is the foundation of true transformation. When you realize, procrastination transcends laziness. Not merely control issues, addictions, not merely bad luck, self-sabotage. Channeling Thanatos restores power. Discover the pattern to change it. Be mindful, but face the discomfort you avoided. Few have the confidence to admit that self-destructive behaviors provide an escape from hurts, traumas, and worries. Every substantial change causes resistance, since it means facing shadows, touching what's been repressed, hidden, or buried in your mind. The path integrates. The mind doesn't work that way, thus killing Thanatos is futile. You contain it. You can understand its causes and employ its energy. How? Good self-knowledge. By making small, ordinary modifications. Treatment and analysis. Meditation within. Methods that reveal secrets. Soul digging. This gives you agency and helps you distinguish between eros of life and Thanatos. It creates space between impulse and action, making choice possible. Rebuilding the dopamine circuit is necessary. The goal is to replace toxic habits with joy, purpose, and aliveness, experiences that connect us to our creative, life-affirming power, rather than our desire to disappear, numb out, or self-destruct. It takes time and effort, but consistency, intention, and the right energy can change deep brain grooves. It takes bravery to face discomfort and develop truth-based behaviors to handle stress, emotional agony, and life's complexity. The payoff is actual transformation. Stopping runs transforms you by addressing your inner anguish, anxieties, compulsions, and hidden parts. It's painful, challenging, and requires more than you've probably contributed. By facing your inner conflict and living life fully, you become free. Most people don't realize that inner struggle holds them back, not bad habits or lack of ambition. Your daily and moment-by-moment choices show which inner force you serve. Eros, the desire for life, growth, creation, love, and connection, or Thanatos, stagnation, destruction, retreat, and self-erasure. Ancient forces have always been in your mind. Your reward system, especially dopamine pathways, is hijacked, keeping you numb, preoccupied, and stuck in self-sabotage loops. Add unconscious patterns, many of which were influenced by early experiences, trauma, or family conditioning, and you see why transformation is hard. This realization empowers you. Even though it hurts, you can close this video and return to familiarity. There's another approach that demands awareness, truthfulness, and alertness. No need to change everything instantly. Start by becoming more conscious of your decisions. Think about trends. Instead of judging, be curious. Does this option nourish me or deplete me? Is this comforting or empowering me? Am I nourishing my future self or my need to quit feeling? Questions are more important than they seem, because responses form your environment. The voice that wants to learn, love, create, and live meaningfully is still alive. Listen and care for it. Follow its lead. Share what connected with you in this message. What stood out, what clicked, what made you realize, that's me. Your remarks can help someone find their truth, as healing isn't done alone. Continue if this video woke you up. Subscribe, activate notifications, explore more layers, recall more realities. Self-discovery begins now and every step counts. See you later.